Why do gay men prefer to top? Hey guys, Michael Pizzulo here, gay therapist in West Hollywood. So in the gay community, we know that generally speaking, guys fall into two categories when it comes to sex, right? They're a top or they're a bottom, or they're verse, right? And when we think of these preferences, part of gay culture often is navigating compatibility to find hookups, relationships, and all that kind of thing, right? Often we wonder though, why do some men prefer to be one or the other, to be a top or a bottom? And often that comes down to physicality, right? Just sort of physical preferences, which makes perfect sense and is very valid and very fair. But today I want to talk to you about the psychological reasons behind these sexual role preferences. Because we know that sex is not just physical, it's emotional, it's psychological. And the better you can understand yourself, the better sex you can have. So I want to go through 4 psychological components behind gay men who prefer to be a top. So the first one is that these men often enjoy expressing masculinity and assertiveness through sex, right? So they want to take a role that has more dominance, more power, more aggression. And, those words might sound kind of harsh and, they can be depending on what you want to do, but it's more of an active role. It doesn't mean it's not, consensual and that sort of thing. And it can still be gentle, but they take a more active role sexually. That's what they enjoy. And so being a top allows them to experience that power and that assertiveness and that sort of masculine presence in the sexual interaction. The second one I would say is that tops tend to be performance driven. So these are guys who like to feel like they're on a mission. They're performing, they are demonstrating their competence, they are being effective, and they're getting real-time feedback about how well they're doing, right? So it's not like a subtle thing of, am I doing a good job? They want to get a sense of, I know that I'm a good partner, I know that I'm showing up, I know that I'm making an impact, and I can tell that my partner is experiencing my physical presence in a very visceral and clear way. That's something that they find psychologically compelling, arousing, and interesting. And it's another reason why they enjoy being the active partner in this scenario, being the top. The third thing I would say is they enjoy more of the control. So someone who's a bottom, is in more of a passive stance typically. Depend on what you're doing exactly, but generally speaking, the top is the one who's controlling the pacing, the thrusting, the rhythm, those sorts of things, right? So someone who enjoys being a top is probably someone who enjoys embodying more of a control mechanism maybe in life, but particularly in sex. They find that to be exciting and arousing, just like some people like to surrender in sex, and they find that to be really exciting and thrilling. So those two things can kind of counterbalance one another. And then the fourth thing, and this is less of something that tops are trying to embody, but maybe something they're trying to get away from. And this isn't the case for everyone, but for some gay men, they do associate being a bottom with being more feminine and more passive, there's nothing wrong with that, but they don't enjoy feeling, their femininity. They don't enjoy feeling passive. It could just be organic to them that they're just not very feminine guys, and so they don't enjoy a more passive stance in the sexual dynamic. Or it could be that they have some sort of internalized homophobia or internalized shame, so they can't really enjoy sex if they're going to be in the realm that feels to them more feminine and less masculine, and it's coming less from a place of organic interest and more of, I just don't feel good about myself when I'm doing this sort of thing. And that's a whole other conversation, but what I mean to say is that some people avoid femininity because of shame, and some people avoid it just because they don't like it. And I think both are totally valid, and we don't want to demean people or suggest that they have to change, but to sort of open the conversation and get people curious. And the reason I bring all this up is not that we need to overly label ourselves. There are a lot of people who don't want labels, or people who identify as asides. They don't even enjoy penetrative sex. And that's all totally fine. But what you want to do is think about it in terms of getting to know yourself and getting to know your sexuality, because gay sex does have nuances to it. And for most people, they don't get to explore these early on, and then they're kind of, thrown into the gay scene as an adult, and they don't really know themselves, they don't really know their sexuality, and now they have to just go, figure it out, and it can feel quite overwhelming. And again, sex is a way of self-expression. So the better you understand yourself, the better you're going to be able to enjoy sexuality in a way that's comfortable, exciting, fun, and free of, shame and awkwardness and confusion. So the more you can understand yourself, truly the better. And again, it's not about forcing yourself to enjoy something you don't like or demeaning your interest, but being curious and just trying to understand, how do I show up to sexual experiences? What do I enjoy physically, psychologically, and all that sort of thing. So I will leave it there. Super curious to hear what you guys think. If you are someone who prefers to be the top in a sexual dynamic, what psychological aspects you find yourself wanting to embody in those interactions, what you find thrilling, if you agree with the three things that I brought up, or if you find that there's sort of different aspects that you find thrilling that you bring into a sexual dynamic when you are the penetrative partner. So as always, thank you guys for watching. If you like content like this, I talk about, gay men's issues, sexuality, relationships, mental health, you name it. So please like this video, subscribe to my channel if you want to learn more about these sort of topics, and suggest new ideas in the comments as well if you have things you want me to cover. And if you want to work with me directly, one-on-one, as a coach or as a therapist, I will put my booking link in the description. And again, as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. So thanks, guys.